くだらねえ。儚く散りゆく一瞬の美にこそ価値があるってのによ。
すぐに消えてしまうものに何の意味がある。朽ちることない永久の美こそに価値があるんだよ。
To devote everything you are and ever could be to seizing a single moment, or to spend an entire lifetime carving out a legacy you may or may not be able to enjoy yourself. This is the idealistic difference between Akatsuki member Deidera and Sasori. The existential dread everyone faces daily is how they spend their life. On one hand, you can indulge in the now, so like at any chance they come across the second you have it. It'll definitely be an eventful life, but will mean anything in the end. Chasing every fling that may unironically halt your potential, as every second you spend on one activity is a second not on something else. You expand your resources, time, and focus on certain activities for a certain burst of dopamine, leaving them unable to be allocated to efforts that require a larger deposit than what can be accumulated within a day, week, months, or even years. This is the style Deidera chose to walk by, an addiction to instant gratification. The main question is, as Deidera is an artist, when he was recruited, we see he has multiple statues that he made, and those definitely should take some time and patience to make, unless he used ninjutsu to craft them. And when Itachi all-marked them with a single glance, he dedicated years to train one of his eyes to be resistant to genjutsu. But if anything, we see this is the moment Deidera gets trapped in a cycle of short-term instant gratification. During the Akatsuki was a spinal moment decision. He had no real reason to join besides wanting to beat Itachi, and nearly none of his actions in the Akatsuki helped him or put him closer to his goal, except maybe make him a bit physically stronger. But how much that truly matters is someone so skilled in genjutsu that a clone of them can put someone in a genjutsu by merely pointing at you. Trapping himself in a group that constantly drew his attention away made his only goal even less likely, as we see later when he goes up against someone who's basically a weaker Itachi, and this is reflected to his art, more so his clay bombs. As we saw during his recruitment, he could make some beautiful works of art that no doubt took time to make, compared to his current work where he's strictly relying on whatever he can make on the spot. It wouldn't be unfair to say, while his art gets the job done, he's obviously taking soul cuts. And while we can't say for sure if it will be true, it's entirely possible if he took time to create some bombs beforehand, he will have a much larger arsenal of tricks to pull off. It's entirely possible him entrapping himself in this cycle stiffed his growth as a ninja. And all of it for what in the end? It wasn't even a blimp in Itachi's eyes after, and his life plan got immediately derailed by Sasuke passing by, where he was forced to show off everything he built up over the years, only for the eye that he trained for so long to still fall for the Sharingan's genjutsu, the thing he specifically trained his eye to counter against. 95% of his arsenal were countered by chakra with electricity nature to it, which he propelled near no countermeasures for, despite it being basic chakra element nature map. Even his desperate last attempt failed, where he sacrificed his life throwing away his dream and desire on the spot for a fight he didn't even plan on, that was, in the grand scheme of things, unnecessary, and in world lore was easily forgotten about, leaving behind no legacy, no friends, no teachers, nothing for anyone in the future or present to even remember he ever existed. Remember, no one brings up Deidera after this fight. Not Sasuke, not Itachi, not Tobi. Even Hidan and Kakuzu was brought up more, both in Boruto and things involving Asuma. Even with Endo Tensei, he was basically relegated to fighting people he had no connection to, that the anime needed to create filler for him to have something. But by the manga, he just came by and got sent back, gone and forgotten, which is ironic considering how this happened right next to his comrade, who had a bit of a different fate.
So that is precisely the true form of art I sought. When you pass, give them to another, so that they may live forever too.
Sasori the May suffered a similar issue like the Daria, but separate. Despite being dealt a different hand, for following an alternate route of life in this video. He gained a bit of peace, but that'll be for later. Losing his parents to war obviously damaged Sasori's mind like it did for many who suffered from the Second Great Ninja War, causing an ironic contradiction where he desired eternal love from people he's close with, while at the same time distancing himself from his living associates. Separation and having to say goodbye can be the harshest hill many of us will have to face eventually in their life. Some friendships never last forever, situations throughout history never remain stagnant, no matter how detached you are. And eventually, people you know will grow old or get terminally ill. But Sasori was one who wanted to circumvent this kind of event through immortality or puppetry. If you research the lore of Naruto, you know puppetry was greatly expanded upon by the second Kazekage to help the war effort in order to substitute ninja bodies on the field with fighting puppets. Kinda like how warfare these days evolved to who got the better drones and missiles. That was ultimately his legacy. Unlike many things left to future generations, it can be twisted and used for intentions not planned. Sasori, to cope with the loss of his parents, figured he can replicate the love of his parents with puppets that don't deteriorate or rot, growing to the point where when a friend of his died, he turned his body into a puppet, and then killing the third Kazekage to turn him into a puppet, and then finally, himself into one. In the pursuit of perfection and eternity, he robbed himself of everything he was looking for. He could never replicate the love of his parents with puppets, but the things in life that can help supplement the need he left behind. His grandma, his friends, his village, all of it, he carved away, leaving only a hollow shell. It came back to bite him in the end. Going against Grand Chia and Sakura, it's been debated heavily, and it's kind of been heavily implied that Sasori could have avoided the blow that took his life, but due to the lingering feeling that still managed to reside inside of him, after turning himself into a puppet, he let himself die, accomplishing nothing and leaving behind only two of his works: the hard shell puppet we see him in during his first appearance, and Sasori's body itself. And like how the relics of the second Kazekage were used by those after him, the same was done with Sasori as well. But even here, the path these two tools went affected Sasori's spiritual end. The shell puppet was used as a way to spy and get to Orochimaru. Similar to himself, this creation was used for someone else's desire, which ended up being destroyed anyways in a multi-cross betrayal, tossed away despite being made to last forever. The Sasori puppet itself was inherited by Kankuro, ironically someone who had previously inherited and used puppets Sasori created before he left the village. But instead of simply being used and tossed away, Kankuro truly valued the Sasori puppet and intended to carry on the legacy of the puppet, something Sasori sees when he's brought back with Eno Tensei. Now upon seeing this, he comes to a change of heart, seeing the value in passing on the legacy to the next generation. As people don't need to live forever, as long as there are people from here and to the future willing to carry on what he left behind with care. And his growth soared as he stacked onto the relics inherited by having Kankuro inherit the puppets of his parents as well. And thus, Sasori became one of the few who broke free from Eno Tensei, basically by himself, as his comrade for many years Deidera practically begged him to stay. Two ninjas with opposite fates. Deidera enjoyed his life as is. No one could argue he was unhappy, but once his life ended, spiritually he became hollow in both character and legacy. All Deidera had at the end was self-satisfaction, thinking he had accomplished a spur-of-the-moment goal to kill Sasuke that never occurred. Meanwhile, Sasori was hollow in life, with few if any enjoyment during it, but post his death, whether or not he planned it or not, he ended up progressing and found peace and joy, being able to leave this planet existence with more heart than he did while alive, despite technically being a lifeless puppet. Isn't it so much which character lived a better life by how the life they lived affected them? Sasori technically came out of this happier than Deidera, but that has less to do with actions Sasori personally did, mostly. I guess you can say him choosing to die because of his lingering feelings instead of choosing to go through with killing Chia and Sakura led to his happier ending, but how much different is him getting himself killed than it was for Deidera to go on his own terms for his desires. What saved Sasori was, yes, the works he did work on before he went full puppet that Kankuro inherited, but more importantly, the people that came after who themselves took action that ended up saving Sasori. Meanwhile, Deidara had no one. Toby, who was debatably just white Setsu, didn't kill as Obito made no mention of Deidara, so there was no one or any work left behind that can give a second glance at Deidara. So which do you think is better, dying for a moment or sacrificing a lifetime for a legacy?
芸術は爆発だ。おめえの芸術はいまいちわかんねえ。一瞬にして儚く散る美学ってのに旦那もそろそろ目覚めるんだな。
That'll be it for this video. Like this video, subscribe if you're new. Check out my other stuff, Relentless Real Hero or Stormer Riders. Check out my socials for any updates, comment your thoughts, and what other things you want me to check out. And see you guys next time. I think next time for a video like this will be for Kakuza and Hidan, so look forward for that. Alright, that'll be it for me. Take care. DarkyDark is out.